I met Marcus when I was 19. He was my roommate's older cousin. Jenna and I had been living together for about 6 months when he moved to our city for a new job. She introduced us at a group dinner. He was charming and funny, made everyone laugh. We clicked immediately, started texting after that night. Within 2 weeks, we were dating. We were together for almost 3 years. Really good years, honestly. He treated me well, got along great with my family. My older brother, Tyler, liked him. My younger sister, Emma, seemed thrilled I'd found someone. Mom and Dad welcomed him to every family event. Things felt solid, comfortable, like we were building towards something real. Then he proposed when I was 22. Did it at a family dinner at my parents' house, got down on one knee in front of everyone. I froze. My heart started racing, but not in a good way. I loved Marcus, but I wasn't ready. I'd just gotten into grad school out of state, had plans to study abroad for a semester. Marriage wasn't part of my timeline yet, maybe in a few years, but not right then. I told him I needed time to think. She wanted the advanced program, but she was struggling with the technical pieces. Every single day for 3 months, I sat with her, timed her performances, gave her feedback, drove her to practice. She got accepted, made first chair in her section. At the celebration dinner, my mom raised her glass, talked about how Maya was so talented she didn't even need help, how she was a natural. I just sat there, smiling. Nobody looked at me. When I turned 16, I got a job at the grocery store, bagging and stocking shelves, started working weekends and some weeknights, gave half of every paycheck to help with bills. One night I came home late from work, heard my parents talking in the kitchen. I stopped in the hallway to take off my shoes. My dad said at least Emma was finally contributing something useful about time. I stood there in the dark hallway for a long time, then went to my room. Useful. That's what I was. Not loved, not valued. Just useful when convenient. The research paper was my best work. I'd started it in January, for a competition in March, the Regional Science Symposium. First place won $25,000 in scholarship money, plus automatic acceptance into a summer research program at a real university. My paper was about water pollution. I'd spent 6 months on it, collected water samples from local streams, ran tests, analyzed the data, taught myself programming to build prediction models. 43 pages long original research, my best work. Maya was 14, 2 years younger than me. She was supposed to enter the junior division next year, when she'd be old enough. But my parents had other plans. I sat down at the kitchen table with my parents that night, put the USB drive between us, told them I'd found my paper on Maya's computer. She'd already submitted it, in her name. My mom glanced at my dad. He cleared his throat. They needed to talk about what was fair for the whole family, he started. I said it wasn't about fairness. They'd stolen my work. Mom said they didn't steal anything. They just thought Maya should have the opportunity. She was younger, needed the scholarship more. I was smart enough to write another paper. The deadline was yesterday, I told them. Dad said to write one for next year. I'd be a senior. I'd have other options. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They weren't even pretending this was an accident. They'd stolen my work, given it to Maya, on purpose. I said I was going to tell the competition committee. The room went quiet. Dad's voice got hard. I wasn't going to do that. I was going to let this go. For the family. I said this wasn't about family. This was fraud. Mom told me not to be dramatic. I was making this bigger than it was. I asked to talk to Maya, wanted to hear her explain this. Dad said Maya didn't need to explain anything to me. This was their decision as parents. They decided what was best for their children. I asked if stealing from one to give to another was what's best. My dad stood up, said I needed to think very carefully about what I did next. If I made a scene about this, if I went to anyone outside this family, there would be consequences. I understood. They were threatening me. The next morning, I went to my school counselor, Mrs. Patterson, told her everything, showed her the USB drive with my paper on it, showed her all my research notes, my drafts from my computer, timestamps proving I'd been working on it since January. Mrs. Patterson listened, took notes, then called the symposium director. 2 days later, I got called in. They talked to Tyler and Emma about it, said Marcus couldn't be at every single family event anymore, that I deserved to feel comfortable in my own home. Tyler apologized immediately, said he hadn't realized how much it bothered me, started declining invitations if Marcus was going to be there. But Emma got defensive, said I was trying to control everyone, that I was being selfish and immature, that Marcus had just as much right to be there as I did. Things cooled down a bit after that. Not great, but better. Marcus wasn't at every single thing, just some things. I could handle occasional run-ins, could be polite and civil when necessary. I thought maybe we'd reached some kind of peace. I was wrong. I met Ryan during my semester abroad in Barcelona. I was 24. He was at a different program, but we met at a language exchange event. Just started talking and couldn't stop. Everything felt easy with him, natural, right in a way I'd never experienced before. We spent the rest of the semester together. Then did long distance when I came back to finish my degree, video calls every night. visits when we could afford flights. It was hard being apart, but we made it work. He proposed exactly 1 year after we met, planned this whole romantic thing at the beach, where we'd had our first date in Barcelona. I said yes immediately, didn't hesitate, didn't doubt, just knew he was my person. My family was so happy when I told them. Dad hugged me for a long time. Mom cried happy tears. Tyler said Ryan seemed like a great guy and he was excited to get to know him better. Everyone was supportive and welcoming, everyone except Emma. She went really quiet when I showed her the ring, just stared at it for a long moment, then said I was rushing things, that I barely knew Ryan compared to how long I'd known Marcus, that I was making a mistake, that the honeymoon phase would wear off and I'd regret not giving Marcus another chance. I tried to brush it off, told myself she was just surprised, that she'd come around, but she kept bringing it up. Every conversation turned into her questioning my relationship. Saying Ryan and I were too different, that long distance never worked long term, that I was settling because I was afraid of being alone. We fought constantly. Every phone call ended badly. Every family gathering where we were both present had this underlying tension. When Ryan moved to my city after I graduated, things got worse. He got a job at a tech company. We got an apartment together, started building our life. My family welcomed him mostly. Dad invited him to golf. Mom had us over for Sunday dinners. Tyler included him in guys' nights. But Emma was cold, distant, made these passive-aggressive comments whenever she was around him, barely spoke to him directly. When she did, it was always something with a barb in it. I pulled her aside one Thanksgiving and told her she needed to stop, that if she couldn't be supportive, she could at least be civil. She said she was just being honest, that someone needed to tell me the truth, that Marcus was still holding out hope for us, that I was throwing away something real for something that wouldn't last, that she could see through Ryan, that he wasn't right for our family. I warned her very clearly after that, told her if she pulled anything else, I'd cut her out of my life completely, that I was serious, that our relationship as sisters would be over. She said she understood, that she'd back off. Said she just wanted me to be happy. I believed her. I shouldn't have. 3 months later, Emma got engaged to her boyfriend, Chris. She'd been dating him for about a year. She asked me to be a bridesmaid, said she wanted to make things right between us, that planning her engagement party and wedding together would help us reconnect. I was hesitant, but said yes. Thought maybe this was her way of showing she accepted Ryan and me, of moving forward. I was so wrong. The engagement party planning seemed fine at first. We looked at venues together, talked about decorations and food. It felt almost normal, like we were sisters again. Then the day of the party came. It was at a restaurant Emma and Chris had rented out. She'd done all the planning, sent out invitations, made a seating chart. When Ryan and I arrived, I noticed something weird immediately. The place cards. My name was at a table with the wedding party. Ryan's name wasn't anywhere near me. He was at a table in the back corner with people we didn't know. I pulled Emma aside and asked what was going on. She said the seating was organized by relationship to the couple. That wedding party sat together. That made sense, I guess, but Ryan was my fiancé. We should be together. She said there wasn't room at our table, that she'd tried to work it out, but the numbers didn't fit. I let it go. Didn't want to make a scene at her party, but I felt uneasy about it. Then the game started. Emma had planned these couples' games, trivia about her and Chris, dance competitions, partner activities. She announced that everyone would be paired with their assigned partner from the seating chart. My partner was Marcus. He was there as Tyler's +1, apparently. Tyler had brought him thinking it would be fine since enough time had passed. Ryan was across the room paired with some random cousin of Chris's. I could see him looking uncomfortable, confused, hurt. I refused to participate. Told Emma I'd sit out. She made this big scene in front of everyone, said I was ruining her party, that it was just games, that I was being dramatic, that Marcus was just a friend now. Why couldn't I be mature about it? People were staring. I felt my face get hot. Ryan walked over, said we were leaving. Emma started crying, said I always made everything about me, that this was her special day and I was ruining it. We left. Drove home in silence. Ryan kept asking if there was something between Marcus and me that I hadn't told him about. I explained the whole history, how Emma had never let go of the idea of Marcus and me together, how she'd been pushing for years, how I thought she'd finally moved on. He was quiet for a long time, then said he felt set up, humiliated, like Emma had orchestrated the whole thing to make him feel like an outsider. I apologized over and over, told him none of it was his fault, that my sister had serious issues. The next day, I called my parents and Tyler, told them everything that happened, said I was done with Emma, that I wouldn't make them choose sides, but I'd never speak to her again. And if they tried to force us to reconcile, I'd cut them off too. I wasn't bluffing, I was completely serious. Mom was devastated, cried and begged me to reconsider. Said we were sisters. That family was everything, that we had to work it out. I told her there was nothing to work out, that Emma had crossed a line she couldn't come back from, that my decision was final. Dad was quieter about it. Said he understood why I was upset. That he'd respect my decision. Tyler was angry. Said he'd brought Marcus thinking it would be okay. That he felt terrible. That he supported me completely and would talk to Emma about her behavior. Mom tried twice more over the next couple weeks to change my mind. Called crying. Sent long texts about forgiveness and family bonds. I didn't budge. After that, she stopped pushing. Seemed to accept that Emma and I wouldn't be in the same room anymore. 5 years went by like that. I didn't talk to Emma at all. Blocked her on everything. If we were at the same family event, I acted like she wasn't there. Looked right through her. Spoke around her. It was harsh but necessary for my peace. At first, Emma would try to get reactions. Make loud comments clearly meant for me to hear, try to start drama. Nobody backed her up, so eventually she stopped. Just started acting like everything was normal instead. Like we were sisters who simply didn't talk much. She had a complete breakdown when she found out she wasn't invited to my wedding. Called everyone in the family crying. Said I was being cruel and vindictive, that she'd apologized 100 times. That blood was thicker than water. Nobody changed my mind. My wedding was beautiful. Small ceremony with close friends and family people who actually supported Ryan and me. Emma wasn't there, and I didn't miss her for a second. Tyler told me later he felt guilty for bringing Marcus to that party. That he should have seen how obsessed Emma still was. That he was sorry for not protecting me better. His friendship with Marcus basically ended after everything. They'd exchange pleasantries if they ran into each other, but weren't close anymore. Life moved on. Ryan and I bought a house, built good careers, had Sunday dinners with my parents, game nights with Tyler and his girlfriend. It was peaceful, happy, everything I wanted. Then Mom's birthday happened 6 weeks ago, big dinner at a nice restaurant. Everyone was there. Dad, Tyler and his girlfriend, Ryan and me. Emma and Chris were there too, but I just ignored them. Like, always. Everything was fine until dessert. That's when I made my announcement. Ryan and I were expecting. 14 weeks along, first grandchild in the family. Everyone was thrilled, jumping up to hug me, asking questions about due dates and names. It was this beautiful moment of pure joy. Except Emma. She looked absolutely devastated, like someone had died. Mom noticed. I saw her watching Emma with this worried expression. The next day, Mom called Saeed. She wanted to take me to lunch to celebrate the pregnancy, hear all my plans, talk about becoming a grandmother. Ryan told me not to go. Said something felt off, that the timing was suspicious. I told him he was being paranoid, that it was just lunch with my mother, that she was probably excited and wanted quality time. I should have listened to him. When I arrived at the restaurant Mom had picked, I saw them immediately. Emma sitting at a table in the corner, Chris next to her, Marcus across from them, and some woman I didn't recognize but later found out was Marcus's aunt. Mom was standing near the table looking nervous. My stomach dropped. I knew instantly this was bad. Really bad. I turned to leave, but Mom grabbed my arm, begged me to just listen, just hear them out, that they just wanted to talk, that I owed her this after everything. I didn't owe her anything, but I was too shocked to argue. Sat down at the table, pulled out my phone and started texting, sent messages to Dad at his office, to Tyler, to Ryan, told them where I was and what was happening. Kept my finger ready to call if I needed to. Marcus spoke first, said he'd been thinking about me constantly since I announced the pregnancy, that it made him realize he'd never really moved on, that he'd always loved me, that seeing me about to start a family with someone else made him understand what he'd lost, that he wanted me to know he'd wait as long as it took, that he'd be there if things with Ryan didn't work out, that becoming a father would be his dream if I'd just give him another chance. I felt sick listening to him. This was 5 years later. I was married, pregnant, living a completely different life. And he was still holding on to some fantasy from when we were barely adults. It was disturbing. Unhealthy. Everyone at the table was nodding along like he was making perfect sense. Marcus's aunt went next. Said Emma had explained everything to her, that I'd been punishing Emma for years just because she cared about my happiness. That Emma had only ever wanted what was best for me. That she'd tried to help me see that Marcus was the right choice, that I was being stubborn and mean by holding a grudge. She said sisters forgive. That family works things out, that I owed it to Mom to make peace before the baby came. Emma went next. Started crying immediately. Said she missed me so much. That she'd made mistakes, but she'd apologized over and over. That she just wanted to be in my life again, to be an aunt to my baby, to be sisters again like we used to be. That she understood now that Ryan and I were together, that she'd accept it, that she just wanted a chance to prove she'd changed. Then, Mom read this letter she'd written, going on about how heartbroken she was that her daughters weren't close, how Emma had made mistakes, but meant well, how I was being too harsh, how family forgives, how she couldn't stand seeing us like this, how the baby deserved to have her whole family, how I needed to let go of the past and move forward. I didn't say a single word to any of them, just kept texting, sent updates to Dad and Tyler and Ryan about what was being said. Looked at Mom with complete disbelief. Couldn't believe she'd set this up, that she'd ambushed me like this, that she'd thought this was okay. Tyler showed up about 20 minutes into this disaster. He was angrier than I'd ever seen him. Came straight to the table, told everyone this was disgusting, that they should be ashamed. Grabbed my purse and coat, told them he was taking me home, that they'd crossed a line they couldn't come back from. We walked out together. Mom tried to follow us. Tyler told her to stay away from me, that she'd done enough damage. We sat in his car outside the restaurant. I was crying, shaking. He kept apologizing, saying he had no idea, that if he'd known he would have stopped it, that he couldn't believe Mom had done this. Dad showed up 15 minutes later. Then Ryan. They'd both left work immediately when they got my messages. Ryan was shaking with anger. Dad looked devastated, like he couldn't process what Mom had done. That night, I sent everyone except Mom an email. Attached my lawyer's contact information. Said I didn't want to be contacted by any of them ever again. That if they tried, I'd pursue harassment charges. That I was serious. Nobody reached out after that. But Dad told me Mom and Emma were having meltdowns, that they'd hoped the lunch would fix everything. That Emma could be in my baby's life. Maybe even be the godmother. That they couldn't understand why I was so angry Dad moved in with Tyler temporarily. Said he couldn't look at Mom the same way. That what she'd done was unforgivable. Some extended family members started calling mutual friends too. Emma was apparently telling everyone that Ryan was keeping me away from my family, that he was controlling and wouldn't let me make my own decisions. Complete lies. I hate airing my private life, but I posted on Facebook explaining exactly what happened. Emma and Chris and Marcus got torn apart in the comments. Maybe I shouldn't have gone public, but I don't regret it. Mom became hysterical after that, started calling and texting constantly, leaving voicemails crying. I finally agreed to meet her 1 week later. Told her very clearly what would have to happen if she wanted any relationship with me going forward. Professional therapy, family therapy sessions. Clear. Boundaries about never sharing information about me with Emma. Separate holidays from now on. And most importantly, if she ever pulled something like that again, she'd be cut off permanently with no second chances. She said it was too much to ask, too extreme, but eventually agreed. Thought it meant she'd get immediate access to baby updates. That everything was fixed now. I told her no, that it was a long process, that she'd have to prove over time that she'd changed, that she'd respected boundaries, that I could trust her again. She cried, but accepted it. Dad and Tyler refused to talk to Emma at all, kept apologizing to me, saying they couldn't believe it had gotten this far, that they should have seen how obsessed she still was. I forgave them. They'd shown up when it mattered, made their choice clear. Mom was different. She'd orchestrated the whole thing. That wasn't something I could get past easily. Ryan's parents were confused by the whole situation. His mom asked if cutting Mom off from her grandchild was really necessary, but said ultimately it was our decision. Ryan and his sister had a long talk with her, explained how toxic the situation had become, how Mom had ambushed me while pregnant, how the stress could have hurt the baby. She apologized and said she'd support whatever we needed. 2 weeks after the lunch meeting, things got worse. I was at work when my assistant told me I had visitors. Mom and Emma were in the lobby asking for me. I called security immediately, told them to make them leave, that they weren't authorized to be there. Security escorted them out. My boss pulled me aside later, asked if everything was okay. If I needed time off, I explained briefly that I had family issues I was handling, that it wouldn't affect my work, but I was mortified. They'd brought their drama to my workplace. I started feeling terrible that afternoon. Dizzy, nauseous, blood pressure through the roof, went straight to my doctor. They said the stress wasn't good for the baby, that I needed to eliminate whatever was causing it or I'd risk complications. I was terrified, called Ryan, crying. He left work immediately. Dad and Tyler met us at the doctor's office. That evening, Dad and Tyler and Ryan went to my parents' house. Collected everything of mine and Ryan's that was still there. Mom wasn't home, but Emma was. She'd apparently been staying there helping Mom deal with everything. She started screaming at Ryan when she saw them, saying he'd destroyed her family. That this was all his fault. That I'd been fine before he came along. Dad told both Mom and Emma they'd almost caused me to lose the baby, that he didn't want either of them contacting me ever again, that they needed professional help. Emma kept sending texts to Tyler after that, begging him to talk to me, saying she didn't understand what she'd done wrong, that I was overreacting, that families should forgive. Tyler blocked her number. My lawyer sent letters to both Mom and Emma, stating clearly that they'd caused documented harm to my health and my pregnancy, that any further contact would result in restraining orders that they needed to stop immediately. Mom finally stopped trying to contact me after that. Emma did too. They both refused therapy. Dad said they keep insisting they did nothing wrong, that I'm being dramatic and cruel, that Ryan has turned me against my family. He filed for separation last week. moved his things to his own apartment, says he can't stay married to someone who would do what mom did, who wouldn't see how wrong it was even after everything. I'm focusing on the rest of my pregnancy now, on staying calm and healthy, on spending time with the people who actually support me. Dad comes over for dinner twice a week. Tyler and his girlfriend babysit our dog when we need it. Ryan's family has been incredible. His mom calls to check on me, his sister drops off meals. They treat me better than my own mother did. That says everything I'm due in 2 months, having a boy. We picked a name last week. Dad will be at the birth. Tyler too. Ryan's whole family. Everyone who chose me and my baby over drama and manipulation, mom won't meet her grandson. Not unless something fundamental changes. Unless she gets real help. Proves she understands what she did wrong. I'm not holding my breath. Emma sent one last message through a mutual friend yesterday. Said she misses me, that she's sorry for everything, that she just wants her sister back. I didn't respond. Some relationships aren't worth saving. Some people don't change. I learned that the hard way. But I learned it. Now I'm moving forward with my husband, my dad, my brother, the family I chose, the people who stood by me when it mattered most.